is the name of the god who was worshipped throughout Canaan and Phoenicia in ancient times. Baal was a fertility god who was thought to help the earth produce crops and people produce offspring in general. Various parts worshipped Baal in different methods, and Baal proved to be a highly universal god. Various locales highlighted one or another of his attributes and designed special sects of Baalism. The word Baal appears infrequently in the Old Testament as a personal name. The word's etymology shows that Baal was considered as the owner of a certain location, thereby limiting its use to individuals who were no longer nomads but had settled down. These local Baals were thought to be in charge of agriculture, creatures, and humanity's fertility. It was crucial to win their favor, especially in a place like Pal, where there are few natural streams or springs, and rainfall is unpredictable. This led to the adoption of extreme forms in the cultus, including the practice of ritual prostitution and child sacrifice.
The single biggest gap in party affiliation among white Americans today is not between men and women, or those who reside in so-called red states and those who reside in blue, but between those who attend church regularly and those who don't. I think we make a mistake when we fail to acknowledge the power of faith in people's lives, in the lives of the American people. I think it's time that we join a serious debate about how to reconcile faith with our modern pluralistic society. And if we're going to do that, then we first need to understand that Americans are religious people. 90% of us believe in God. 70% affiliate themselves with an organized religion. 38% call themselves committed Christians. Whatever we once were, we are no longer a Christian nation, at least not just. We are also a Jewish nation, a Muslim nation, and a Buddhist nation, and a Hindu nation, and a nation of non-believers. And even if we did have only Christians in our midst, if we expelled every non-Christian from the United States of America, whose Christianity would we teach in the schools? Would it be James Dobson's or Al Sharps's? Which passages of Scripture should guide our public policy? Should we go with Leviticus, which suggests slavery is okay, and that eating shellfish is an abomination? Or we could go with Deuteronomy, which suggests stoning your child if he strays from the faith? Or should we just stick to the Sermon on the Mount, a passage that is so radical that it's doubtful that our own Defense Department would survive its application?
The message is now part of and registered in your subconscious mind.
The Bohemian Club? As you say, the Bohemian Club? That's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right? I've never been to the Bohemian Club, but you ought to go. It'd be good for you. Get some fresh air.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that is upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's family.
Enshrined and holy are the pillars of this house.
"Weaving spiders come not here." A quote from Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, adopted by elite aristocrats and powerful businessmen of America to imply their Bohemian Grove retreat was nothing more than a recreational getaway. Except they didn't always live up to their motto. Retreats are types of group outings is extremely limited, and only those with legacy get requested. Sorry, you just didn't get picked for the Bohemian dodgeball team sport. Prominent people known to have attended Bohemian Grove include all of the Bushes, Ronald Reagan, Mark Twain, Clint Eastwood, and Richard Nixon. In an article written by a former employee at the Bohemian Grove, she stated, "Jeb Bush was once denied a milkshake and threw a childlike temper tantrum. Apparently, there are milkshake rules at Bohemian Grove, and you can't serve one before 8 p.m. But Jeb clearly didn't get the memo." Richard Nixon, the 37th President of the United States, was recorded in 1971 saying,
Let's look at Northern California. You understand the government. You know what's happening in San Francisco is gone. It's clear over. I know, but it isn't. It isn't just down in the rowdy part of town. But the upper class in San Francisco is that way. The Bohemian Grove that I attended on time to time, the Easterners and the others that come there. But it is the most faggot goddamn thing you will ever imagine in San Francisco crowd because it's just terrible. I mean, I don't want to shake hands with anybody in San Francisco.
Nevertheless, Nixon would attend the Bohemian Grove picnics, and Jeb still wouldn't get his milkshake. In September of 1942, an alleged meeting took place at the Bohemian Grove, where arguably the most influential venture in human history was debated. This meeting sparked the Manhattan Project. According to author Peter Phillips, many Grove members take pride in this piece of Bohemian history and flaunt it to new initiates. Ernest Lawrence, nuclear physicist and Nobel Prize winner, and J. Robert Oppenheimer, a theoretical physicist and wartime head of the secret laboratory Los Alamos. These two men were accompanied by committee heads, representatives from the biggest oil and electric companies, as well as presidents of Ivy League schools such as Yale and Harvard. Now, I may not be a bohemian, but this sounds an awful lot like weaving spiders to me. The web they managed to create through sheer mastery of science and innovation was, of course, the nuclear bomb. This undertaking led to the advent of nuclear weapons and brought the Second World War to an end. The Manhattan Project also dictated how the subsequent war with the Soviet Union would be fought, or not fought depending on how you define the Cold War. There are more
again, we were looking for human traffickers because we know that they prey upon vulnerability, wars, hurricanes, whatever it is. And sure enough, we lock into this pedophile ring. Now it's a frightening ring because it's a political party that was out of Holland called the PNVD. Lots of media on them. They were trying to legalize sex with children. They thought a 3-year-old could consent to sex. Well, even in the Dutch arrested them in 2020, which is very hard to get arrested in Holland. I don't. Okay. You got to be really red light district. You got to be really bad, okay, to get arrested in Holland. They were arrested in 2020, fugitives. They ran, and they were hiding. No one knew who they were. Well, they rear their ugly heads. The leader, this guy named Nelson Matterlin, he raises. I'm literally in Poland at the time, at our staging operation for Ukraine, and I get this information that this guy in Mexico is trying to traffic kids out of Ukraine. And so I go undercover. The Dutch asset who gave me that information infiltrated me, and I'm undercover talking to this guy. Well, in the end, we ended up, in fact, just yesterday, 2 of the guys were convicted in Ecuador because it led us to Ecuador, a child sex hotel, these pedophiles from Holland and set up. But we'll get into that another time, okay? But the point I'm making is I had to study their literature. This was a political platform. This was a political party. And what I started recognizing is I named them I call it the pedophile network doctrines. Okay. Yeah. It's like they include things like separate children from parents because parents are a bad influence. The state knows best. Sexualize kids. Let them see pornography. 2.
Karl Marx.
3, take God out of education because that just gets in the way. And kids consent. Children can consent to anything. At 12 years old, they should be able to vote. They should be able to do anything. Now, what am I saying here?
तुमको होश आ रहा है क्या? इसको शायद होश आ रहा है। पैसे दे रहा है क्या? पैसे दे रहा है तो बच्चे लाने के पैसे दे रहा है। इस लड़के को होश आ रहा है क्या? इसको शायद होश आ रहा है। यार इस बच्चे की देखो देखो यार।
Go up to the manager. He goes, "Oh, you want to see it?" I said, No. I said, there's supposed to be a massage place here, and I can't find it anywhere. And he says, "You have an appointment?" I said, "No." He goes, "Oh, I don't know anything about it." I walk out in front, and I'm looking, and there's people walking by, back and forth, and I see this lady. Again, I'm just listening, that's all. And she's walking with her dog. I said, "Hey, can you help me with something?" "Oh, yeah." I said, "I got an appointment for a massage. Like, it was a special place. It's supposed to be here. I can't find it. There's no signs or anything." She goes, "You have an appointment?" I said, "Yeah." She makes a phone call. About 2 minutes later, this madam comes down, opens up these 2 steel doors, and takes us down this hallway, this path, and then up these stairs and down. I mean, it was a maze getting back into where this place was. And there was a center area of this massage parlor, and she proceeds to take out a menu and start showing us pictures of the girls, prices of what they would do. We got her contact information, geotagged the location, and feds were able to go in and do a sting and arresting those children as well. And I walk into the restaurant and I go up.
The blood rituals involving children are actually well documented in West Africa. Witch doctors, it's well documented that it happens. It's a real thing. Even the BBC wrote an article about it. Over the last 4 years, at least 400 African children have been abducted and trafficked to the UK. They were smuggled into the country in a sinister plot of blood ritual. So that's the adrenochrome thing. That's the thing that we're talking about, that Jim Caviezel was talking about, that I've been talking about, that Mel Gibson may be talking about in a new documentary. That's the thing that people think keeps them young.
Weeks ago, when an armed man decided to investigate a D.C. area pizza place for himself. This man right here, he carried a rifle into a pizza parlor and then fired it at the floor. Media is telling you the entire story is a hoax or fake news. But what does that even mean? I spent the last month investigating. So what exactly is Pizzagate? And are there any actual facts to support this story? I've got to warn you, what we're going to talk about tonight will be disturbing to some people. But this is a reality check you won't see anywhere else. Pizzagate actually comes from the WikiLeaks release of hacked emails from Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. In all, WikiLeaks dumped around 50,000 email messages, and it was from those emails that the claims that John Podesta may be part of a child sex trafficking ring come from. Now, to be clear, not one single email in the Podesta emails discusses child sex trafficking or pedophilia. That is a fact. But there are dozens of what seem to be strangely worded emails dealing with pizza and handkerchiefs. Self-described online investigators say that those words in the emails about pizza and the talk of handkerchiefs is code language used by pedophiles. So how did a DC pizza parlor get pulled into the story? Well, again, read any mainstream report and they indicate that Comet Ping Pong Pizza was somehow linked to this fake story and has no relation to anyone involved. But the truth is that's not true either. What media is ignoring is that the Comet Ping Pong Pizza place is actually referenced in the Podesta emails at least a dozen or so times, and that the owner of that place, James Alfantis, is a friend of John Podesta. He was actually named, this is kind of strange, by GQ magazine as one of the top 50 most powerful people in Washington. Yes, we're talking about a pizza parlor owner. Now let's talk facts here. There is no solid evidence that Comet Ping Pong Pizza is being used to run a child sex trafficking ring. But there are some very strange connections between Comet Ping Pong Pizza and a second pizza place 2 doors over, Besta Pizza, and the accusations of pedophilia. Now this is where things start to get strange when you research this story. Now to begin, I need to show you a 2007 unclassified FBI document. That document, according to the FBI, contains commonly used symbols by pedophiles to express their preference in children. I want you to see these images here. These are the images. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love. The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Besta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago. Clearly, you can see that the Besta logo actually contains the same image, I'm going to show you again, as that boy lover image. Interestingly, after Pizzagate investigators pointed this out, Besta Pizza changed their logo, and there it is now. They removed the triangle. Also, Comet Ping Pong, owned by Alfantis, is the place where a number of performance artists perform regularly. 2 of the groups that perform there, who you can see advertised, by the way, on this Comet Ping Pong poster, include a group called Heavy Breathing and another group called Sex Stains. Well, if you check out the YouTube videos by these bands, Heavy Breathing has songs that do joke about pedophilia, and the band Sex Stains has a video that includes, and you see it right there, that same boy lover symbol. It's nearly identical to the one that the FBI does say is a pedophile code symbol for boy love. As I said, there are some strange things there. As for the owner of the pizza place, James Alfantis, well, he was one time in a relationship with David Brock, who ran Media Matters for America. Well, since Pizzagate began to blow up online, he has made his Instagram profile, Jimmy Comet, private. But an archive search of Instagram reveals a number of strange photographs and words with strange and disturbing images associated with them. Look, to the point where we can't show you those pictures. We're not even going to describe them to you because some viewers would find it too disturbing to share on TV. Now let's talk about the Podesta brothers, because remember, it was John Podesta's email that was hacked. In those leaked Podesta emails, John Podesta talks about his close relationship with Dennis Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, who was recently sentenced to 15 months in prison for abusing boys years ago. He was referred to by the judge as a serial child molester. According to the Washington Post, visitors to Tony Podesta's home in Falls Church got an eyeful when they walked into a bedroom at the Podesta residence hung with multiple color pictures by Katie Grannon, a photographer known for documentary-style pictures of naked teenagers in their parents' suburban homes. And to be clear, that just begins to scratch the surface of how strange some of this stuff is. And bear in mind, we can't get into a lot of the real details of it because of the limits on broadcasting this on television. But it is some very strange stuff. Now keep in mind, again, there is no proof here that there is a child sex ring being operated out of a DC pizza parlor. Investigators have already proven there's nothing to the story, right? Well, actually, no. And that's what you need to know. For all that is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this. Not from local police, not from the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question. Not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place? That's Reality Check. Let's talk about it on Twitter.
There's no such thing as someone else's child. no such thing as someone else's child. Our nation's children are all our children. As often
sta dentro la cassetta. Dentro. Ah, sorry.
No, Joe.
He just stand. We let him stand. Da vogliamo trovare. Ma si mette qua. Così
I disturb you like this?
Absolutely not.
Ancora non c'era insomma qualsiasi cosa, il cinema pure, tutto si è...
Guardiamo tutto fuori.
fuori e alla fine io prego di ultima sangue.
Dimmi, per la mano? Togli un tasto.
Per te la testa.
Ah, sì.
Se no non si veniva,
Marina da počem ja na ovu stranu.
Nemoj, ja volim da vidim kako je dozirano.
Some here?
E posso di luce di...
Da passare?
Da ugasimo sve.
Da ugasimo sve.
Hold it like here. Almost finished. I smell it. Don't touch me. No, but this is the thing. The smell is strong. It's really with the sharp knife cut deep into the middle finger of your left hand. So there are 4 objects, 4 statements. Split copying and imaging. It's really like alchemy. Yeah. But you think it's cooking. And then that's it, Sean. Can I join now? Yes. Now shower.
Can I do the last one?
Yeah. I arrive. This is my favorite. This is going to be my favorite position. Bye. Oh, wait. This is another one. But with no. Can you think of my watch? Please.